Hello, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk about what the hypervisor is, especially in the automotive sector. If you refer to the Wikipedia page, the web, and you're going to identify what the hypervisor is. What is hypervisor? A hypervisor is sort of architecture or platform that allows multiple operating systems to run. Those multiple operating systems are called the guest OS or virtual machine. Actually, the hypervisor was originally developed for x86 architecture in case of the cloud server, and then hypervisor was under development for various the cloud servers in the Intel x86 architecture. So these days, you can identify that hypervisors are still used in the various cloud server. But these days, hypervisor is widely used in the automotive sector. So in case of the automotive and infotainment system and ADAS, then you will identify that hypervisor is the most used software stack in automotive sector. What I mean is that those hypervisors are running based on the ARM processor. Before the ARM version 8 architecture was introduced, then hypervisors was not used in ARM version 7.8 architecture. But after introduction to the ARM version 8.8 architecture, then automotive business will start to use the hypervisor in the ARM devices. Then example of hypervisor can be seen in the slide, and please take a look at this. If you refer to the link, and you're going to see is this diagram. And if you take a look at this diagram, and the first component you can see is the hypervisor. Please take a look at this. This is hypervisor. Then there are 4 the virtual machine that is running as the guest OS. The guest OS can be called the virtual machine from another perspective. The first guest OS is responsible for perception, and the second, the virtual machine, is taking care of the mapping and planning. And the third, the guest OS is taking care of the ADAS operation. And the first guest OS is undertaking the infotainment features. And those features can be prevalent in automotive sector. So in this case, a hypervisor is responsible for the managing the virtual machine for guest OS. And the role of the hypervisor is to manage the resource, the hardware resource that is the adequately allocated for the guest OS or virtual machine. So if you refer to any reference manual of the automotive based chipset, then I'm sure that you're going to see the hypervisor. Take for example, if you refer to the reference manual of the Qualcomm chipset that support hypervisor, I think that you will see the QNX hypervisor because Qualcomm chipset is already used the QNX hypervisor. So in order to understand how the hypervisor works in more detail, we need to learn about some of the virtualization features supported by the ARM architecture. Please take a look at the diagram in the slide. In the slide, and what you can see is exception level 0, exception level 1, exception level 2, and exception level 3. And I think that you may be familiar with the terminology called exception level. You know that at exception level 0, the user application is running. And as for exception level 1, the Linux kernel or real-time operating system can be executable. But in this slide, there are 2 guest OS, and then those the two guest OS can be running in separate the execution environment. And then at the except level 2, and you can see the hypervisor. The hypervisor has a higher privilege than the guest OS because the main job of hypervisor is manage the resource of the guest OS. So if you refer to the reference manual of ARM architecture, then you'll be likely to see those kind of diagram. So another feature of virtualization in ARM architecture is virtual CPU and virtual interrupt, and then virtual memory-based I/O. And then those three components is the key part of virtualization in ARM version 8 architecture. And then another important thing you have to remember is the trap. Sometimes control is passed on to the hypervisor if the software is running the specific assembly instruction. Those kind of assembly instruction is the HVC assembly instruction or WFE assembly instruction. So from another perspective, I can say that hypervisor is implemented using the feature of CPU architecture just like ARM version 8 architecture. So I'm going to explain about the much more detailed feature of virtualization in ARM architecture in the next video. Thank you for watching this video. See you next time.